Content warning. After Hours is intended for a mature audience. This episode will include human experimentation, animal abuse, death, and cosmic horror. Listen at your own discretion. After Hours, Episode 5. A Paltry Meal. Oh my god, Jesus Christ, what? Where am... Oh my god, my wax figure. My wax figure double just pushed me through the black door. My wax figure is alive, and she just tried to kill me. What the hell is going on? She's alive and she put me through the black door and it's real. It's all real. George Blackwood wasn't a geriatric old man mourning his brother. He was right. He was right and it's real. Where am I? It's so cold, but it's not cold. Nothing is anything and it's everything. I can see myself shuddering on the ground, but I can't see my own hands right in front of me. It's like if a mirror and a snowflake, reflective and impossible and indescribable, had a baby, and then you took that baby and you smashed it into 1,000,000 pieces on the ground. I can see nothing, and I can see every reflection and fractal and atom that makes up my very body. Oh God! It's so cold. It's so cold and the wind is so loud and I don't. Wait, the door. The door. It's still here. The door is still here, which means I can get out. No, come on. Come on, open. Open, you stupid, idiotic door. Open! I need to go! Becca and Maddie! What is... This side of the door has been scratched to hell and back. This must be Arthur Blackwood's axe mark, but what are these other scratches? Maybe... Wait, is my recorder rolling? How... No, I need those, Becca. I need to give those back to her. There, at least I can... Where's the door? Where's the door? God, how stupid can I be? Chasing after papers while in some indescribable death realm. Where did I even come from? Awesome. Great. I just damned myself to a hellscape for the personal analysis of the entity known as the Black Door by Esme Wundt, head scientist at the Salem Research Institute. She wasn't lying. The museum really is just a cover-up. What better place to hide all your freaky supernatural research than plain sight. Well, if I'm going to die in here, I might as well know what the hell I'm dealing with. The Personal Analysis of the Entity Known as the Black Door by Esme Wundt. Let it never be said that the Salem Institute holds even a drop of common sense. The incompetence of those above me is astounding. I've been their head researcher for 4 years, and the board of directors only now gave me the go-ahead to research the Black Door. The Black Door, one of Salem's most dangerous artifacts, and they refuse to let me, the most qualified person on their payroll, even glance at it. The poor thing has been stuck in artifact storage for decades now. I remember when I was still an intern, my mentor had been directing me through storage for Latner's lantern or some other load-level, non-entity grade relic. We had passed by the door briefly, and the edge of my coat had brushed up against the wood. The barest whisper of contact, and it made my skin buzz. It was like I had been struck with lightning. I was left bedridden for a week. I could barely even blink. My body was left so drained from the contact. From that day on, I swore I was going to figure out what made the Black Door tick, no matter what it took. I was going to figure out the source of all that power. I had asked the others in my department about it, but they assured me that an artifact like that would always be well above my station, that no intern, let alone a female one, could ever get the necessary qualifications to even look at the Black Door. I hope they heard about my promotion. I hope they heard about it and choked. I got all the qualifications I needed with my research on the groundskeeper's loop. That singular research paper launched me straight up the ranks and shattered any notion of a glass ceiling. It's goddamn ridiculous and shameful. Yes, the loop as a whole is considered an S-grade entity-level artifact. Yes, it's been driving those who come in contact with it insane for centuries. But it's still been obvious from the beginning how weak the individual components of the loop are. It's absurd that no one before me thought to use controlled nuclear fission to snap the ring and separate the keys. Even the arsonist key is little more than a fire starter when separated from its siblings. How is something so obvious the thing that exalts me to renown in their eyes? A passing thought, a few hours of experimentation, and suddenly I'm supernatural Jesus. Years of work, and that's what they notice? My lazy day in the lab that just so happened to tranquilize a major artifact? All that, and then they still don't let me research what I want. But I'm getting off topic. My gripes with the Institute and its archaic thinking aside, I finally have the Black Door in my personal laboratory. Now, we know very little about the Black Door, but what information we do have is invaluable. The first confirmed account of disappearance via the Black Door is Arthur Blackwood. Since Blackwood, there has been somewhere between 143 and 261 disappearances linked to the door. The number varies as it's difficult to know when missing person cases bleed into door-related activity. We have a rough idea of where the door has been located between Blackwood's death and its arrival at the Institute. Missing persons cases always spike drastically when the door is in a general area, but it's near impossible to pin down who actually enters the door and who doesn't. We also know that the door cannot be destroyed, and that any attempt to do so merely results in its relocation. Our extraction team had quite the game of trial and error getting the door inside the museum, as it is impossible to move the door from where it is rooted itself. They found that the moment the door disintegrates to dust in one location, it immediately begins reforming somewhere else. They described its reappearance as a hole being torn in reality and then instantaneously filled by the door. Additionally, we know that the door can only truly be damaged from the inside. The mark from Arthur Blackwood's axe remains in the wood despite how many times the extraction team destroyed the door in their relocation attempts. I've elected to name the mark Blackwood's Scar. My coworkers laughed when I first proposed it, but none of them could deny how scientifically valuable the mark is. Arthur Blackwood deserves credit for all he's done for our understanding of this entity, and I'll be damned if he doesn't get it. Currently, I've gathered a team of 7 dedicated assistants, though I've already put in a request for a dozen more. These experiments and trials will be nothing short of deadly, and I doubt all of my team will survive. It's clear that something dangerous lies behind the door. Why else would Arthur Blackwood stop at just one swing? Something kept him from freedom, and I'll figure out what that something is, no matter how many assistants I have to run through. To begin, I'm having Andre place different objects within the door and seeing if they're gone when he opens the door to place the next item inside. Best to start small and get a feel for what we're working with. They're gone. No matter how large or how small, they're gone every single time he opens the door. I fear we may have to begin recording in the milliseconds to get any usable data. To get a better understanding of what exactly happens when the door is shut, we've begun putting different recording equipment inside. Unfortunately, any sort of visual recording immediately crashes. The moment the door closes, we either lose connection with the device or it completely implodes on itself. Perhaps beyond the door is too much for any electronic device to handle? If it does transport you somewhere else, the lost connection would make sense. The imploding could be from some kind of overload. Too much data for the device to record and compute, so the whole thing shuts down, like a person experiencing sensory overload. Moving forward, I'm going to put purely audio devices within the door. When it comes to paranormal or otherworldly relics, audio is typically far more reliable than visual data. Sound is simple in that sense. It is very rarely incomprehensible and far less prone to inducing fits of madness than sight is. The microphones have been maintaining a stable connection within the door, though the data we've managed to gather has been odd. The audio is rough and difficult to make out in sections. There's often some kind of roaring or howling sound, which leads me to believe that there is at least one entity living within the door. It would easily explain the disappearance of the people who enter the realm. They would be encroaching on the creature's territory, thus triggering an attack response. The destruction of devices is a bit more complicated to explain, but it is not entirely unusual for animals to destroy man-made items that they do not comprehend. It could also be that the technology simply cannot withstand whatever environment resides beyond the doorway. It's not much to go on, but it is more than nothing. We've put around 27 audio devices within the door. I've begun to notice a trend between the device and how long before they lose connection. Commonly, the older the device, the longer it lasts. We've put all makes and models of new, state-of-the-art microphones and recorders inside. They're gone within milliseconds. Andre decided to put one of the museum's old cassette recorders inside, and it lasted an entire 10 seconds. Though some of the older devices go faster than the newer ones. There's no rhyme or reason to it. At first, it seemed that age was the main factor, but there's been notable exceptions. When we first realized that the age of the device was playing a role, Andre went out and cleared out the local thrift store of all their old recording equipment. The times between them varied wildly, to the point that our scatter plot looked more like a Pollock painting than scientific data. If it's not age, then what is it? It has to somehow relate to time. There's nothing else the devices have in common. They're all different makes, brands, and models. The only similarity between them is how old they are, but even that doesn't yield accurate results. They couldn't be more different from each other. The museum cassette player lasted 10 seconds, while a much newer stereo recorder lasted 12. If not time, if not age, then what is the deciding factor? What else does time have an effect on? Time deteriorates, but it's been clear that the quality of the device doesn't matter. Time weathers. It changes and morphs things, but the outward appearance of the device means nothing. Time creates memories. Memories. Time creates memories. A stereo recorder used by a family compared to a cassette player for museum tours. Memories. I have to get Andre at once. We have many more tests ahead of us. Oh my god. Is this thing gonna eat my mind? Are my memories being taken from me? Will I even realize if it does? My name is Julia Maberry. I'm the eldest child of Nicholas and Catherine Berry. My brother is Victor. My best friend is Madeline Louise Barker, who I met in college. Rebecca King is our editor, and she's the sweetest person I know. My name is Julia Maberry. My name is Julia Maberry. Julia. One of my assistants, Sasha, had an old cassette tape her father used to record his last words. He died of cancer after a painful 2-year battle. Sasha used to listen to it when she was a child so she wouldn't forget his voice. It lasted 53 seconds within the door. Sasha was furious. Honestly, what did she think was going to happen when I asked for the cassette? Misplaced anger aside, this opens up an intriguing new avenue for us to explore. All the other tests we have run align with the current memory-time correlation theory. These are just objects, however. The memories they have come from people. If an inanimate object can last this long inside the door, how long would a living thing last? Something that could actively create memories rather than just storing them. I've begun having Andre put living items within the door. In order to accurately measure how long they last, we've been combining them with different microphones. As far as we can tell, so long the mic is in contact with something, it will last as long as that object. The age and memories of the mic no longer matter, rather it's the age and memories of the object that determine how long they last. We started small. I've organized our early test into this table. Are these scientific names? Jesus, I know you're a researcher, but do you have to be so pretentious? Chlorophytum comosum? 1 minute, 2 seconds. Lactusa sativa, 58 seconds. Allium cepa, 1 minute, 7 seconds. Liriodendron tulipifera, 1 minute, 49 seconds. The living items have lasted significantly longer, especially the tulip popular sapling. These things, theoretically, don't have any more memory capabilities than the recorders, yet they consistently last longer within the door. Perhaps whatever resides within the door struggles to sense when living things have entered its domain, though it would make much more sense for it to have a simpler time sensing living things. Everything we've put within the door has been larger than the recorders. They also respirate, which should cause quite the disturbance in the atmosphere of the realm if it doesn't contain any other life forms. Not to mention, there are artifacts able to sense living things, thus proving that there is some kind of life energy that is in fact trackable. It makes no sense for whatever is inside the door to take so long destroying living things. If anything, it should be easier. Though perhaps the beast within the door has to destroy every piece of something in order to kill or consume it, including the memories of feelings attached to it. Perhaps it eats in a broader sense than we do. Flesh and blood and bones and memories. Perhaps it consumes not just the physical being, but also the abstract. The door itself is described as a tearing reality. Whatever is inside could very well be tearing apart the reality of whatever it comes across. While it may be jumping a few key steps of scientific methods, I'm getting quite tired dealing in plants and technology. I'm having Andre run by the pet store now to grab some crickets, mealworms, and hopefully some flies. Sasha is out gathering as many butterfly and moth larvae and cocoons as she can. Maybe I'll tell Andre to pick up a few other things while he's out. Just a rat or two. Nothing that'll upset the board's delicate sensitivities. The insects were useless. They disappear even faster than the plants did. I originally thought that their memory building capabilities would vault them well above the plants, but that does not seem to be the case. Could it be that memories are not the end-all be-all factor we originally thought they were? Insects, for all of their memories, are not nearly as sturdy as plants. Their lifespans are significantly shorter. Maybe it's not just the existence of memories, but the potential to live and make more memories that plays a role. A tree has far more life potential than a dayfly, after all. Andre picked up the rats like I asked. Fiona Wilkins, one of the board members, protested the purchase, but she was easily drowned out. I would not be the first scientist to experiment on poor, innocent animals, nor will I be the last. The sooner Wilkins understands that, the sooner she'll stop being a thorn in my side. She's half the reason the board kept denying my request to research the door, and I'm getting quite sick of her. Soft-hearted board members aside, the rats have shown promise. The audio is a bit more distorted due to their squealing. The moment we put them inside the door, they begin showing clear signs of distress. High-pitched, fast-tempo squeaking, hissing, and scratching. On average, the rats have lasted about 5 minutes, over 2 times longer than the popular sapling. Andre is going back out to gather some other animals, preferably one from each class. I'm particularly excited to work with birds. We don't know anything about the realm itself, so it'll be interesting to see if the birds are capable of flight. If they are, could they potentially outrun whatever resides inside? Time will tell, I suppose. The data from our animal experiments is as follows. Crotalus horrideus, 5 minutes 53 seconds. Hyla versicolor, 4 minutes 22 seconds. Gadus mora, 3 minutes 6 seconds. Scirius carolinius, 9 minutes 12 seconds. Passer domesticus, 7 minutes 37 seconds. That final data set for the house sparrow may be a bit misleading, as I've been putting significantly more of them into the door than any other creature. I've worked with both live and dead birds. All the data concludes that they last far longer alive than dead. The corpses disappear almost as quickly as the first tape recorders did. From what we can tell with the audio, the live birds are able to fly within the realm. They seem to struggle with it significantly, however, perhaps due to some kind of foliage or inclement weather. With the longer survival rates, we've been able to capture more and more audio samples of the realm. That roaring sound is back, though I'm no longer sure if it belongs to a creature or not. It has a sort of rushing quality to it, similar to a river or the wind. The class of animals appears to have a limited effect on how long they survive within the door. As a rule of thumb, mammals tend to last the longest, however. Out of all the classes of animals, mammals are overall known to have some of the greatest memory capacities. There's far more of them, both in terms of flesh and memories, to be consumed by whatever is inside the door. Matthew, one of my other assistants, has a beloved childhood dog. The dog is a 10-year-old border collie and was supposedly Matthew's only comfort through his parents' messy divorce. Matthew has agreed to let me pet sit. Matthew is currently in hysterics. I told him he should be proud. Connie lasted a whole 12 minutes and 52 seconds inside the door. It's a new Salem record. She wouldn't have lived much longer anyway. At least this way she was helpful in her old age. Andre has requested that I take the rest of the day off. He's trying to talk Matthew down from reporting me to the board and said that my excitement was only making things harder. If it was anyone else, I might have kicked them out of the lab, but Andre's grown on me. It's difficult to find those of a practical nature at Salem. Our work attracts all kinds of crack-headed theorists and daydreamers. I think once our research here is complete, I'll put a good word in for him. Speaking of research, I think it's time we move on to our last set of experiments. We need to start sending humans into the black door. As mammals with complex memory systems, they'll undoubtedly last the longest within the door. This does, of course, raise several ethical concerns. There is no record of someone escaping the door once they're inside. There is no evidence that there is even a way to escape the door once it is shut behind you. Essentially, putting someone inside the door is the same as killing them. Julia Maberry, my name is Julia Maberry. I will not forget my name. No monster is going to eat the memory of my name. Thankfully, God, she's sick. How can there be anything to be thankful for in this situation? Thankfully, I have several eager assistants at my disposal, and it shouldn't be too difficult to set up a deal with the local prison system. Most of them are nothing more than boxes to hold rotting bodies and minds anyway. Might as well put those things to use. If the door truly is a tear in our reality like the extraction team described, or home to some memory-consuming beast like I hypothesize, it is easily the most dangerous thing in existence. If one thing were to go wrong with its containment, thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people could die. The prisoners the prison system will offer to us made their choices. They made their bed and are now lying in it. Is it not better for us to take those people, those who attacked society at large, and use them as a defense? Better to break a few rotten eggs than slaughter the whole chicken. Salem Jail has agreed to the terms of my experiment. The board was more hesitant, though they ultimately voted in favor of my research. Perhaps there is a brain cell amongst them after all. Fiona Wilkins threatened to resign, called the whole experiment a grotesque abuse of human ethics, and honestly, it's like she didn't even listen to my proposal. Salem Jail has been reaching maximum capacity for some time now, so the Salem Museum will extend an invite to their life sentence prisoners. They will be given the opportunity to participate in my study in exchange for reducing their sentencing. It is a fully consensual agreement between the prison, the prisoner, and the museum. They are under no obligation to agree. It is entirely up to their own discretion. This is the most ethically sound way to experiment on and explore the Black Door. It is our obligation as researchers to determine how much of a threat this relic is to the world at large. Salem Jail has sent over the first round of prisoners. Fiona Wilkins left a copy of her resignation letter on my desk. This, more than anything else in my life, has made me question the existence of a loving God. The removal of that idiotic, close-minded, delicate fool is too perfect not to be the working of some divine being. Perhaps I was too quick to laugh at Andre and his lingering Catholic sentiments. Marcus Davis is the first person we're sending into the door. We're still wildly unsure of if escape is possible, but, well, Marcus killed his wife and 3 children in cold blood, so I won't be losing any sleep if he doesn't return. More than anything, I'm excited. We'll finally be able to get a physical description of what the realm looks like. We've yet to have a subject that can vocalize what they're experiencing in a comprehensible manner. The amount of information Marcus Davis is going to give us is nothing short of astronomical. Perhaps he can give me a description of the beast within the realm. I wonder what kind of teeth it has, if it even has a mouth at all. Eloquent wordsmith, Marcus Davis was not. Most of what he gave us was hysterical drivel. Still, we managed to make out the words cold and sharp. Perhaps it's akin to a tundra or taiga? We'll need to take care in selecting our next subject. Someone with more mental fortitude. Someone who can handle the stress of a place that can apparently break both cameras and minds with the same efficiency. Marcus technically lasted a whole 20 minutes, but his mind was reduced to fragments within 5 minutes of entering the door. He was little more than a babbling, terrified shell by the time he died. I'm hoping that Andy Millark will show more promise. Beyond the door is, as we theorized, an entirely different realm. It is icy, barren, and impossible to navigate. No matter how hard they try, subjects are always drawn away from the initial entry door. The only way to consistently stay by the door is to keep it within your vision, but somehow something always distracts subjects just long enough for it to vanish. The realm as a whole appears to be truly incomprehensible. Multiple subjects have compared it to genuine vertigo. Impossible to tell up from down and sideways from forwards. Nothing but fractals and reflections as far as the eye can see, and even then beyond their vision. I have also come to realize that, given the sterile nature of the realm and the subject's observations, there is no beast within the door. The howling sound we heard on the original recordings was actually the wind. Air is constantly blowing through the realm, and many subjects have described it as cutting or biting. Not in the normal sense of it being cold, however. No, Andy Millark, in particular, said that it felt like teeth being buried right down to her atomic structure. Other subjects echoed her statement when prompted, like the wind was eating away at them, piece by piece, bit by bit. I listened for 6 minutes as Andy Millark was ripped to shreds by the wind. I listened to her screams, the howling accompanied by the wet squelch of flesh and blood. I listened to her screams until her vocal cords were shredded too by the door. She died in agony and misery. She begged for her mother, her father, her brother. I saved that section of the recording, all 6 minutes and 20 seconds of it. The board will be more inclined to fund my continued research with compelling evidence of the dangers of the door. For the few subjects fortunate enough to stay by the entry door for most of their time, we found that they were in fact able to damage the door. One of them was even able to correctly identify Blackwood's scar. This means that the entry door and the black door are one and the same. Arthur Blackwood was pushed into the door by his brother, meaning that he had the advantage of keeping it in his peripheral upon entry. This explains how he was able to damage the door with his axe. If he had entered any other way, he would have immediately lost sight of the door and been swept away. There are reportedly other marks on the entry door, though none of them were deep enough to show through to the other side. They were fairly generic overall, scratches from fingernails, knife marks, etc. I decided to send one subject in with an axe, just to see what would happen. They died faster than the bugs. No other human had died so swiftly or so violently. We sent other volunteers with other forms of weapons and tools, yet nothing elicited the same response that the axe did. Every subject who went in with an axe died similarly. Could it be that the door is sentient to a degree? To have it react so violently to an axe wouldn't make sense otherwise. Arthur Blackwood had the potential to destroy the entire door with his axe had he been given the chance. If the door was sentient, it would likely remember such an attack and would go to great lengths to ensure that nothing similar would ever occur again. Or does it merely recognize the ill intent behind the weapon, but If it was about the object being wielded, why did subjects not holding axes last so much longer than their peers? It's been about a year since my initial research on the black door began. Both Andre and I are still heavily invested in the door and committed to continuing our work, but resources have begun to stretch thin. We've gone through 30 to 40 prisoners now, and our numbers of volunteers have begun to diminish. Rumors have been circulating the prison claiming that those who go with me don't come back, that I'm not genuinely offering to end life sentences through reduced time, but rather through death. It's absurd and ridiculous. It's hardly my fault none of them were competent enough to escape. Salem Jail doesn't see it that way, of course. No, instead all they see is the 100% fatality rate. They're putting an end to our arrangement, the goddamn cowards. I'm going to have to put my research on hold until I can work out a new deal. Traveling between several different counties, do some intermingling and negotiations with the other prisons. I've decided to leave safeguarding the door to Andre. He's proven himself clever enough to keep up with my work. He's certainly clever enough to keep an eye on the door. I was driving back to the Salem Museum after a week of traveling when I got the call. Andre didn't show up to work that morning. They reviewed the security footage to get an accurate idea of when he left the night before. He didn't. He walked into the door. It is not often that I find myself fond of someone. I've always been a bit too abrasive for others, too callous, too cold, too cruel. Andre was none of those things, yet he understood my work in a way very few do. I was eager, excited even to write our final thesis paper on the door together. He would have made an excellent lab head. Andre was clever. He wouldn't just up and walk inside the door, not after all our experiments. Something made him do that. Something made him walk to an inevitable, painful death. I'm going to figure out what forced him inside, even if it kills me. I rewatched the tapes. Andre was running the usual diagnostics on the door before locking up for the night. In the middle of recording the electromagnetic fields of the room, however, he suddenly stopped. He turned to stare at the door for a full 3 minutes and 15 seconds. Then, he walked towards it, turned the handle, and stepped inside. The behavior is completely abnormal for Andre, yet when I looked back at the museum's statements on the door, it seemed completely common. Andre's strange, trance-like behavior matched George Blackwood's curious obsession with the handle of the black door, an obsession that was apparently shared by several others who came in contact with the door. A person, when left alone with the door, will often have their attention caught by the handle. They will remain obsessively focused on it until they are either inside the door or distracted by another living thing. The door, though strange and paranormal, is logical. Nothing it does is purposeless. When destroyed to the point it cannot heal itself, it will leave that hostile situation and reform somewhere far away and safe. It punches a hole in our reality because it acts as an entryway to a realm beyond our own. It destroys cameras and people's minds because it is incomprehensible. The door is a logical being. People are being lured into it for a purpose. Of that, I am sure. Nothing like this has occurred before now. I've spent hours around the door alone, and it never once lured me in. I know Andre has been around the door alone before that night, so what was different then? We've been running experiments for months now. What suddenly changed to the point that I began to display this behavior? I'm going to have to go over all my research notes. Perhaps there was a change in routine I wasn't made aware of while I was gone? Nothing changed while I was gone. Everything was exactly the same, except for the fact that nothing was being placed inside the door. Before Andre, it had been nearly 3 weeks since someone or something had been sent inside. While it's been proven that there isn't a beast inside the door, that doesn't mean something isn't happening to the people who go into it. Andy Malark described the wind as biting. Perhaps the door is ripping people apart to stay in our reality. It is clearly not from our realm, so it might require matter from our world to stay anchored here. I'm not going to put any more people inside. Let's see if starving this thing out will do something. At the very least, I hope it'll teach it a lesson for taking away Andre. Sasha was lured in, then Matthew. I found myself staring at the handle for a full 4 minutes today. I didn't realize I was standing in front of the dark wood of the door until my usual lunch break alarm went off. It was shrill enough to make me jump and instinctually turn my gaze to my phone. I was wrong, but I was still right. I wasn't wrong about the things within the door being consumed. I was wrong about what was doing the consuming. The door isn't a door. The door is a mouth. It's the mouth of a being well beyond our world and comprehension. It just looks like a door because it can't exist in our world otherwise. The mouth must be twisted in such a manner that it suits our world's material realm and atomic restraints. The being is insatiable, it is ever hungry, and it will never be satisfied no matter how much is put within its gaping maw. And here I was putting it on a consistent feeding schedule. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner from all my experiments. When I left, that schedule was disturbed, and so it began luring people inside again. Otherwise, it might have starved and been unable to keep up its form in our world. God, this is going to be so annoying. Finding a replacement for Andre is going to be near impossible. Couldn't it just have lured in someone more useless, like Sasha or Fiona Wilkins? Oh well, no use crying over spilled milk. I'm going to use my remaining volunteers and assistants to slowly wean the door of its feeding schedule. Then it'll just have to eat the occasional helpless tourist rather than my entire research team. I almost feel sorry for whatever unexpected fool gets killed in there next. Belly of the beast. I'm being eaten alive. I can feel it chipping away at me, eating at the very matter of my being, the essence of my mind. All because of a wax figure, a dumb, one-off joke. I'm going to die because of a murderous wax figure. What the actual hell? What did I do to deserve this? What did I do to deserve being shoved in here with only the words of a psychopath to comfort me? Because that's what Esme Wundt is. She's a goddamn inhuman, cruel megalomaniac. She's killed dozens, maybe upwards of hundreds of people just for her little pet project. It didn't matter that they were criminals. They were people. Living, breathing human beings who she just sent to their death without a second thought. She listened to them die without a care for their pain and torment. No, all she cared about was her research, her precious study, and her freaky obsession with Arthur Blackwood. Well, here's what I think of your research, Esme. Rot in hell, Wundt. What the hell? Of course, out of everything put in this goddamn hellscape, Arthur Blackwood's axe is the one thing this place hasn't destroyed. Well, at least I'll be able to axe myself when the wind starts to rip me to death. Seriously, I know I wasn't always the best daughter, but surely I don't deserve this. Okay, maybe I did run off as soon as possible, but who can blame me? My parents aren't exactly stellar in their old age, or their young age, or ever, really. And yes, sure, maybe I shouldn't have just left Victor with them, but that doesn't give him the excuse to treat me like this. I was going to college. I couldn't just smuggle him in my bag with me. It sucks. It was awful. I don't deny that, but I was just a kid too. Being 2 years older doesn't suddenly make me a mature adult, especially at 18. I'm so sick of him blaming me for everything. I'm sick of the cold shoulder. I'm sick of the comments. I'm sick of the way he barges into my life, rips everything I'm doing to shreds, and then just leaves. Like my own personal hurricane, put purely on this earth to torment me. Either stay in my life or get the hell away from me. Just commit to something in your awful, pitiful life, Victor. What the hell? It's nothing. The wind is gone and it's all melting. Why would it? Unless if the wind is part of how it consumes you, if the cold and the sharp reflections are meant to cut into you, then does the melting mean it's done? Is it actually getting full? Oh, Esme, I think you missed a little something in your research. Flesh is all well and good, but it's not quite filling. A bit too mortal and a bit too material for the door. And memories, well, those are just imperfect, painful recollections stored in that same paltry flesh. Emotions, Esme. Emotions are the key to your precious little puzzle. Emotions, the one thing you'll never really have. Oh, you want it? Are you hungry? You want my anger and my sadness and my hatred? Well, go on then. Take it. Take it all. Fill up. Be my goddamn guest. Not like I'll be needing them once you're through with me. I hate my parents and I hate my brother for making me feel so awful. I hate Esme Wundt, and more than anything, I hate you. I hate you and your stupid mouth. Get out of my world. Stop eating my people. If you're some vast cosmic god, go fuck off somewhere else. Oh, getting full, are we? About ready to kick me out before you get a tummy ache? Oh, look at you, an incomprehensible, otherworldly being brought low by a few measly human emotions. I hope you're getting your fill. I hope you're enjoying the meal I've laid out for you. Take them all. Take my resentment, my hatred, my fear. Hell, go ahead and have every piece of me. I hope you choke on it. Or you can let me out. That works just as well for me. I've got a wax figure to kill anyways.